After 13 years, we finally have another boxing game. Is Undisputed better than the Fight Night series? No, it is not. Undisputed has too many issues for me to say that is a better game than the Fight Night series. However, despite all of its issues, Undisputed is still a pretty fun game to play. Now, I've been an early supporter of Undisputed. I participated in the alpha, I participated in the beta, and I bought the early access version of the game a couple years ago. However, the final build of the game is really disappointing. A lot of the issues that are in the final release existed during the early access phase. A lot of supporters voiced their concerns about the issues, but the developers have done nothing to address them. My two biggest issues with the game are, you can't take your head off the center line while attacking, and there's an invisible barrier between the two fighters that prevent them from getting too close to each other. So, for the first problem, you can't dodge and attack at the same time. You can't slip and throw a punch at the same time. You can't weave and throw hooks at the same time. You can only attack after you finish your head movement. This is a big issue for me because the developers said that they wanted this to be the most authentic and best simulation boxing game. How is it simulation if you can't take your head off the center line? In real life, when you attack people, you want to take your head off the center line more times than not to avoid getting hit while coming in. The second problem is equally as bad. There is an invisible wall that prevents the fighters from getting too close to each other. Now, if the fighters are of similar height, then you won't notice it too much. But if there's a big height difference between the two, then the taller fighter can just lean back and avoid almost every punch to the head. They're still susceptible to body shots, but most punches to the head will miss. In real life, if someone leans away, you can just take a step forward and hit them. But this game won't let you do that. Try as hard as you want, you cannot step closer. There is a wall that prevents you from doing so. This is a huge problem. I remember being able to dodge and punch at the same time in Fight Night, and I also remember being able to step forward and hit people that just lean back. For these two reasons, the Fight Night games are better than Undisputed. Undisputed has many issues, but those are my two biggest problems with the game. The other problems include a lack of animations. While playing the game, you will see the same animations over and over again. You'll see the same knockdown animations.
I need to see that again.
You see the same KO animations. You see the same win animations.
After a knockout win here.
I just wish there were more animations. Seeing the same thing over and over is kind of boring. Also, the fighters always appear in the center of the ring, no matter where they got knocked down. The control settings for throwing feints is also very unintuitive. In order to throw a feint, you must press left on the D-pad, then press the punch button. It just seems like a really weird button placement. Also, you can't cancel your punch animations. If you throw a combination and your opponent steps away from you, you'll just punch the air for the rest of the combo. Outside of the gameplay issues, the game is lacking in other areas. There are very few game modes, just quick fight, prize fights, which is a challenge mode that requires you to play as certain fighters, career mode, and create a fighter. The career mode is very bare bones. There aren't any training mini-games. Instead, the game is done through selecting different types of training for your fighter to do. Different types of training will affect different stats. Train too much and you risk getting injured. Train too little and you won't make weight. Don't spend enough time promoting the fight, then you'll get less money. There's a balancing act when it comes to selecting how you want to prepare for the fight. You can also choose different coaches to give you training bonuses. The career mode seems like a cheap mobile game, if I had to be honest. The creative fighter mode is also very lacking. You have your typical sliders to choose from, you can choose a nickname for the commentators to refer to you as, you can choose your tattoos, etc. Just typical stuff you find in any creative fighter mode. It's just all very lacking. Very few choices to choose from, and you can't change the size or positions of the tattoos. My biggest beef with the creative fighter mode is that the fighter will have a max overall of 80, which is very low. There is no way you can choose a creative fighter and win against any of the fighters from the actual game. They're just too weak in comparison. The roster is also very disappointing. Of course, it has legends like Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Roy Jones Jr., as well as modern fighters like Canelo Alvarez, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder. But it's missing a lot of people. For example, there is no George Foreman, there's no Mike Tyson, there's no Evander Holyfield, there's no Manny Pacquiao, and there's no Anthony Joshua. They also removed Ryan Garcia from the game because of his behavior on social media. The final release of the game has a smaller base roster compared to the early access build. Lastly, the online problem still exists. The game does not have dedicated servers. All the matches will depend on your and your opponent's internet speed. Because of this, there is a huge desync issue where there is a lot of lag and phantom punches. But despite all of its problems, there is fun to be had with Undisputed. The movement of the game is actually really good. Footwork seems to actually matter. If you move laterally, you can make your opponent miss their punches and you can attack them from different angles. Not every boxer in the game is unique, but top fighters like Roy Jones, Deontay Wilder, and Muhammad Ali all have their own unique animations and mannerisms. You can also customize your fighters' gears and taunts. There are also 20 different venues to fight in, including daytime and nighttime arenas, gyms, and you can even fight inside of a bar. You can have fun playing the game as long as you stay offline, and use fighters of similar height. It's been a long time since an actual boxing game was released, and Undisputed is actually pretty fun. It's not better than the Fight Night series, but it's still a pretty decent attempt. I definitely don't think it's worth its asking price, but it's a fair purchase at around $20 or $30. If you're looking for another boxing game to play, keep an eye out for a game developed by Overhand Interactive. It's in its early stages of development, but it already looks better than Undisputed. I'm going to show you footage from that game for the rest of this video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the ring.